Welcome to Voices. My name is Augustine Ambe, and you are?
Rogers Akembo.
We took some time off, but we are back. And while we were off, life continued. The war in Ambazonia continued. And the international community too last week met at the UN and said certain things. But before we go back to talking about what happened at the UN last week, at the UN Security Council last week, Rogers, I want us to recap what has gone on since we've been gone, and some of the things that have gone on, especially since October 1. I think our last show covered pre-October 1, and then October 1 happened, and a few other things have happened since then. So why don't we start with October 1?
Yeah, good afternoon, evening, fellow listeners, and we are glad to be on air again to have this conversation with you and to share our insights on the struggle. Yeah, October 1 was a formidable day. It was a day that we all came together. I mean, when I say we, it is us in the diaspora in support of the people in Ground Zero.
This is number 10 Downing Street in London that has been blocked today, 1st of October 2018, by Southern Cameroonians as a sign of protest against what is happening back home. They said 10 Downing Street has not been replying to which is the demands. They've been making applications, they've been making petitions, and no reply has been coming forth. So today, they decided to come in front of number 10 Downing Street. As you see right down there, that's number 10 Downing Street, and everything is blocked. These are police with yellow, with the high vis. These are police standing. So everything is halted. It has been like this for the past 30 minutes. This is London, the heart of London.
Ambazonians in Minnesota commemorating the day of their independence. See, they come out in the rain. Our baby Ambazonian. They come out in the rain, brave, to commemorate their independence and encourage those bleeding for them in the homeland.
Now, in the army of France and La République cannot stop us. The rain cannot
stop us.
Never, ever. We are not turning back. Yes.
Calling on the world.
It doesn't matter how long it takes. We will reach the promised land. The snow did not stop us. The rain will not stop us. Never stop us. Thank you. And our spirit will always burn high. Yes. For our people. Yes, and we know that this is not a one-day thing. Thank you. Until we reach
Boya.
Until we reach
Boya. We will never leave Ambazonia way. Oh, until we reach Boya. We will never leave my journey halfway. Oh, until we reach Boya.
Yes, because it was the people in Ground Zero that demonstrated to the international community our resolve as a people to be free, because they went out in spite of the bullets and intimidations from La République to celebrate the day that we gained our independence. To show the world that they are not afraid of La République, and they are going to commemorate this day, and they did it in grand style. Tium to Sabongari to whatever nook and corner of the country that you want to think of.
Ambazonia. Today is the 1st of October 2018, the Independent Day of Ambazonia. As you can see, this is Santa Subdivision. Santa Subdivision demonstrating the Independent Day, as you can see, under the care of Colonel Diamond of Ambalan. You can see all the gendarmes have escaped away, giving gap for the people. As you can see, they are asking for their freedom. They are asking for their freedom. As you can see, they are asking for their freedom. Asking for their freedom. Asking for their freedom, as you can read. It's really difficult. These are the people of Kenyan Santa Subdivision demonstrating from Kenyan to Santa, as you can see. Demonstrating the independence. Demonstrating the independence. You can see the massive population.
The people came out, some of them in the traditional regalias. They danced, they feasted, they celebrated, and that gave me a lot. I was so happy. I was so moved because they did it quietly. There was no talking. The Republic did not know what was going to happen. The people, however they organized it, but it was a success. And that is something that has shown the world. Everywhere it was reported, the world saw in that action our determination to be a free people. That no matter what it takes, we are going to be free.
We're seeing a huge influx of reaction today because October 1st is Ambazonia's self-declared Independence Day. We're seeing much more traction online than normal, and that says a lot because we normally see quite a bit. Now, Northwest and Southwest Cameroon declared independence last year in 2017, but say that they will keep fighting until their independence is actually recognized by the Cameroonian government. October 1st is also the day that Anglophone Cameroon declared independence from Britain in 1961, but they say they never got full independence. Now, on Sunday, the government imposed a 2-day curfew on the English-speaking region. Even still, there are reports of people going out onto the streets and celebrating the Ambazonia Independence Day. Now, the Independence Day protests calling for an end to the violence have also gone global. Earlier in London, Cameroonian protesters took to Downing Street calling for an end to what they called genocide. We spoke to many of you online about why October 1st is so important to you. Some asked us not to share their names and location.
Today we are commemorating in solidarity with our fallen heroes and heroines. As you know, the genocide continues. More than 200 of our villages have been razed into ashes, and more than 4,000 as we speak of our youth, they have also been summarily executed. So today we call on the world over to intervene and stop this genocide and chase the occupier Pobia and his government out of Ambazonia.
I think that the problems in the English-speaking regions of Cameroon can best be resolved through a federation. October 1st for me represents a day of mourning. It is a day, not a day, there's nothing to celebrate on this day because over time, many English-speaking Cameroonians have lost their lives on this day. And last year, October 1st, 2017, was the highlight of it. Many people were killed, and I think that is the moment that the battle line was drawn, that has thrown my precious country into serious conflict.
Happy Independence Day to all Southern Cameroonians. So this day is very important to us because it's the day that we are restoring our independence. So that's why I'm making this short video to tell you that we, the Southern Cameroonians, we are very determined and we're going to fight till the end. So I want to tell all Southern Cameroonians around the world that we are going to continue to fight and we are going to restore our nation. We are going to get our independence. Long live Ambazonia.
Yes, what was significant for me was that one, La République did not do what they did October 2017. They stayed away. They did not go shooting people on the street. I think they were running away on that day.
Yeah, we are celebrating our Independent Day now. You can see how the Amba boys, they are singing in the council. Nobody can take this country away from us. We have decided to go, and we have gone. And we have gone, and they will never meet us again.
And I want to share with you that it was a big surprise. Not only that people came out, but the numbers were great, and it gave me what I've always believed, that this struggle started from the ground. It is run by the people on the ground, and where we go with this struggle depends on the people on the ground, and they are doing what they need to do. And I say that because I remember some of the middlemen abroad in the diaspora, including the IG, went and say, "Oh, everybody should stay home, don't go out and be shot," blah blah blah. But the people know what they're doing, and they all went out, and it really shows how much the people. It taught us a lesson that those abroad should not assume that they are the ones leading this revolution, and also told us that the people on the ground know what they're doing, and they're the people living this struggle on a daily basis.
Yeah, and I hope we get an opportunity sometime to hear from them directly, so they can come on the show and say what they feel, and just to underscore that, and to underscore that organizational capability that they demonstrated on that October 1st. It is very important in this day and age that when you are planning things like that, you don't have to go on social media. That event was very successful because it was planned and coordinated in a hush-hush manner. Nobody heard about it. People in the diaspora, they don't know what to expect. And because it was done by the people on the ground, it was very, very successful. And that is why every time we come on this show, we repeat this fact that this struggle is led by you people on the ground. And those of us sitting out here talking to you, we are only here to support your efforts.
Yes.
We are not here to tell you what to do, because you are the people living these events on a daily basis, and you are going to assess and reassess how you approach certain things based on the information that you have on the ground, not what we tell you from the diaspora. So that organization and that hush-hush approach was very, very successful.
Restoration train is going to the mountains. Restoration train is going to Bamenda. Restoration train is going on to Bohoya on the restoration journey of our liberty. Restoration train is moving very steadily. Restoration train is hooting very loudly. Restoration train to carry everybody on the restoration journey of our liberty. Oh, Abba Father, bless us. Oh, Jesus Christus, guide us. Oh, Holy Spirit, lead us on the restoration journey of our liberty. Oh, Abba Father, bless us. Oh, Jesus Christus, guide us. Oh, Holy Spirit, lead us on the restoration journey of our liberty.
And we did not lose any people that day. And every other thing that we have done that has been on social media and all this and that, you yourself, you can see the difference. So I am emphasizing that we need to be very careful how we do things. It is going to save lives, just as we saw on October 1st. So everything is in your hands. You are going to do it right, and we'll all be proud someday.
Yes, which Roger, let me just add this, that everything has a beginning, a middle, and an end. So when the revolution first started, there was a lot of hysteria. We all went out, we did a lot of things, and right now that level of energy needs to now drop to a level where we become where it's a more normal, where we're more calculating. It will not be so many people like in stage one where everybody was out there. It needs a few people to sit down, plan, strategize, and maybe just those few again take action on behalf of the population. Mm-hmm. And I think Ground Zero has done the fighting. Ground Zero has obviously been the one accepting the brunt of the enemy. And my next level is that what they did on October 1 needs to continue. That coordination needs to continue until at a point where they actually take over the leadership of this struggle from the middlemen who are abroad, and then have their representatives actually send their representative abroad to actually organize the diaspora and collect what the diaspora have for the territory. And I think it will be more successful than having this middleman come and cause some of the confusion they're causing, and we'll be talking about some of that confusion as time goes on the show.
Restoration train is going to restoration train. Restoration train is going to restoration train. Restoration train is serving restoration train on the restoration journey of our liberty. So get on now on the train, everybody. Get on now on the train. Mothers, fathers, get on now on the train. Children, get on now on the train. Sister, brothers, get on now on the train. Husbands, wives too, get on now on the train.
Now, after October 1, something else happened. Paul Biya of La République was recoronated as the king of that territory.
I do so swear.
Any comments about that?
Yeah, I mean, that again showed us and the world our resolve, because we said that there were going to be no elections in the southern Cameroons, and there were no elections. So our people once more demonstrated to the international community our resolve.
Yes.
That we are not part of these people, and we are not going to be involved in anything that concerns these people. And I can guarantee you, they themselves don't know what to do. Because the fact that we did not participate in that election has left a cloud over that election, right?
Yes.
Because we did not vote, and because we did not vote, there was no way to challenge they could not challenge the coronation. The La République people stood up and cried foul and made presentations here and there, and that was the end of the story. But imagine what would have happened if you people were part of that election. The story would have been different, because you are always the people who go out and try to put things right for this country.
Yes.
These people don't know their left from their right. All they know is that they have a loaf of bread and a can of sardine. That's all they want. They want something to eat. I have told you a story here before where we were in that stupid university, and we were protesting about the quality of education that we have. And the rector came out and called somebody from the crowd and asked him, "What is the problem? Why are you protesting?" And he said, "There is no yogurt in the refectory of the university."
Mm-hmm.
That was his problem. It was food.
Mm-hmm.
So these people don't know what is good for them. All they want is they want something to eat and they want something to drink. So your absence from that election once more demonstrated to the international community that we are a people who have resolved that we are going to take our own destinies in our hand, and we are not going to be part of that junkyard that they call a country like Republic, that shithole as Mr. Trump would call it. So your 1st October resolve to go out and celebrate your Independence Day, your total boycott of that election on October 1st or October 7th was another red feather on your cap to show the international community that these people are a determined people. They can go around and talk about, oh, people were afraid to go out and vote and blah, blah, blah. That is not important. We refuse that we were not going to be part of it. And that is the story. They can paint it anyway, do whatever they want with it. It is up to them. And this is going to be very important when we come down the road.
Yes.
This is going to be very important because if anybody is coming to tell you that, oh, let's sit down and talk about La Republique, the president of La Republique have said that, and your question could be that, did I vote for that president? No. So that is very, very important, and it's going to count as this Rolling Stone keeps rolling.
Yes, and like you said, I think the international community noted very well that that Ambazonia was not part of that election. But we cannot talk about the success of that day without talking about the prominence of the Amber Boys in making this happen, either by creating the fear which they have created in La Republique, or just by their own action to make sure that day did not happen.
Yeah, well, our boys are there to enforce what we have all agreed, that is what is going to reign in the territory. Yes. So if the agreement was that nobody was going to go out to vote, that is what we agreed, because we are as a collective. If some people think that, well, they are part of La Republique and they have to do what La Republique wants, no, you won't do it in our territory because it affects the daily lives of the people in that territory. You can move like this guy from Batibo, who is a parliamentarian who was speaking from Yaoundé. What is his name? You can move like him to La Republique and vote in La Republique. You don't have to vote in our territory because we are not part of that vote. You can choose. You can walk and go over to La Republique and do that business there. So the order in the territory that day was that there was going to be no election in the territory, and that is what. And the boys took that order and they made sure that it was enforced across the board.
Yes.
And the people listened to it, and the people showed their resolve. So I don't think that it was some kind of fear or intimidation.
No, I mean fear on the side of La Republique. That,
oh yes.
That they went out. Their presence is everywhere. For Ambazonia to start restoring itself, fear has to change sides. Mm-hmm. And I think the Amber Boys made fear change sides. That's all I was saying.
Yeah, that's true. And you could look at their calendar for their campaigns and things like that. None of them went to the Southern Cameroons to campaign.
Yes, even Paul Biya had a trip to Boya and cancelled.
Yeah, so that is to tell you, and those are documents that we are going to be able to show the international community that you cannot be asking us to be part of a people when clearly this is what we demonstrated on October 1st, this is what we demonstrated on October 7th, and going forward with other things that we'll probably enumerate in this show.
Yes, and I think one of the things that our actions on October 1 and the refusal to participate in that sham election is showing is that we are a different people. Mm-hmm. We are not part of La Republique. We don't have their mentality. We don't believe that power comes from above. We believe that we give part of our power to some people to coordinate our activities. And you can see that when Frundi won the election in 92 and they stole it from him, the people of Ambazonia reacted immediately.
Yes.
Now Kamto claimed victory and we haven't seen anything. In fact, so you can see the different. If you look through that whole territory, you can see that we are a very, very different people. Say something about. If I saw Kamto go out and say he won, I'm like, yes, these people must have learned something from Ambazonia. But no, they haven't, because I mean, I see them having a calendar that, on this day we'll start ghost towns and all that. But you don't organize things like that. Those are things that when they happen, you react to them, isn't it?
Yeah, it's spontaneous. You don't make a calendar for when you are going to start demonstrating and things like that. The people who are demonstrating in Paris now, they did not set it on a calendar.
No,
there was a negative action that was put in place by the puppet government, the French government, and the people reacted to it instantly. You cannot have the results from the various polling stations clearly showing that you have won, and people could not even do the math. Because if you are going to say there were 3 million votes in an election, when you tally those votes and give that this person got this number of votes, this person got this number of votes, they all have to add up to 3 million.
Yes.
They cannot be more than 3 million. So they couldn't even do their math. So everything was clear that he was robbed of that election, if you want to call it an election, and he had nothing to say. And that is why I said that is the difference between us as a people and these people.
Yes.
Because if we were part of that sham, if we were part of it, it would have been different, because we would have been on the streets. We would have said this nonsense is not going to hold, and the rest of the country, they would now be dancing behind us. And let me just add something, because this is not something that is new to us. Even when we started this thing, these people believe that we should be together, but we should be the ones to go and remove their king so that they can then have power. No, we told them that no, we are not going to do that. We have helped you a long time. We have done everything for you. We have lost our people for your sake. You are now, everybody can now speak and have 1 million political parties, because we lost 6 people on the 26th of May 1990,
and others after that,
and
so, the amount of businesses that people lost because of that. So we paid the price for that democratization of that jungle.
Yeah. So and we are not going to continue to do that. So we are going to be our own people, and we would use the talents and the knowledge that we have to build our country, and not continue to help people who don't see the value in what we bring to the table.
Yes, I just want to go back to that reaction, the difference between the reaction when Frundi won and Kamto. The reason why when Frundi's election was stolen, the whole population rose without somebody prompting them, is because of the kind of education that we have. We are taught that you are the person who brings justice to your community or to your country, who decides who your government is, you are the catalyst of anything that happens in that place. In La République, the same mentality where everything comes from the top, the population was waiting for the top to tell them what to do.
Yeah.
And so Kamto now goes and sit and schedule that, okay, on this day I'm going to tell you to do this. No, the people themselves should know that your election has been stolen, and they go out on the street. That's what progressive countries do.
Yeah.
Nobody prompts them. The leadership only comes in to then control the crowd and channel it to accomplish, what they are for.
No, not only that, he came out that he spoke and he said, let's change the country in peace. That's what he said. And it's unfortunate that our people did not show up. It's unfortunate for La République, but it is good for us. And we are going to continue, because it clearly demonstrates that difference that we have said in terms of culture, in terms of thinking, and in every other thing else.
Yes.
They have kept us for 57 years, and in those 57 years, they have been unable to change us.
Yes.
So there is no other way to put it. I think we have spent quite a bit of time showing them how different we are from them, and this was just the icing of the cake. When you were listening to, and I'm going to bring this in, when you were listening to the speeches by the House of Lords in London, I think you heard one of them said that he traveled to that country, and when he traveled from La République and came to Ambazonia, it was like night and day.
The first time I visited Africa, I visited, as part of my journey, Senegal and Cameroon. I remember being struck then by the immense difference in the whole character and tradition and life between West Cameroons and French Cameroons. I was bewildered as to how administrators thought that these two communities made a natural combined entity. I just didn't see it. You can't fix these things by an imposed agreement. These things have to grow out of a commitment and will and understanding of the different parties to the situation.
Yes, it is night and day.
It is night and day in every way. Every way. So one of the things that has also happened that we were not part of is the quote-unquote release of Siseko from a dungeon into a more daylight prison in Kondingi.
Yes, Siseko and his team, they were moved from SED, where they were kept incommunicado for all this while, to the central prison in Yaoundé. And they can have visits from families now. There were a group of our young ladies that went and visited them and got some health things, got some little things for them so they can use and try to be comfortable. And I understand that most of the problems that they have there is bed bugs. So there's a lot of bed bugs in there. So those things are going to affect their health and things like that. And I want to seize this opportunity to commend those young women, because that is the spirit. That is how we go out and fight this fight. When we ask you that everybody is going to fight this fight where they are and with what they have, that is the contribution that those young women bring to the table. Going out there, obtaining the permission from the colonizer or the jailer to go and visit our leaders and talk to them and get that inspiration from them to go out there and do more for the struggle. So those are young women doing what they want to do for the struggle and getting that inspiration to go out there and do more. They have visited other prisons. They are doing a lot for the struggle, and we hope that everybody, and I know you are doing it, but it is always important to emphasize it, that wherever you are, you do your own share. I know there was a time on this show, I'm going to deviate a little bit, where we talked about people boycotting brasseries. That has been in effect. Anywhere in the southern Cameroons now, you will not see anybody selling that kind of a drink. So that is telling those people that you are not going to take our money and use our money to kill us. So everybody, those who want to drink a beer, they are boycotting those products. Those who have the chance are going to visit those in prison. Those who have the means, they are supporting the Amba boys. And the Amba boys themselves, you see them digging roads, doing things to make the community comfortable and move the struggle forward. Everybody, wherever they are, whether they are young, they are old, they are participating. So it is very important that we take those very key points and learn from each other how we can be effective. The little things that we do, remember, they are little drops of water that make an ocean.
Yes, I was talking to a patriot back in the territory, and I just want to build on what you talked about, the brasseries thing, and he was telling me that part of the success of Ambazonia it's not so much the Amba boys, but I know the Amba boys led it and created some enforcements, which then led to what brought down La Republique. And he was saying that what has really been traumatizing for La Republique is the fact that they don't ship our timber to foreign countries anymore. They don't sell our cocoa. They don't sell our bananas. We are not drinking their brasseries, like you mentioned, and that is what has totally finished them. And so those things come together and they create what we have now, because like we're going to be discussing, you will see that the international community, I know they're twisting themselves and not find what to say, but we are the people. It's Ambazonians who are determining what they discuss in their meetings. You know, it's not them.
No.
So yes, you remember when Seseko, let me just go back to Seseko. They were abducted from Nigeria, and like you said, they were hidden from us for 7 months. And they have been. Then they started bringing them to court. I hear that when they go to court, they refuse to answer any question and say that court is not. They're not citizens of La Republique, so they don't recognize the jurisdiction. Is that what you've heard also?
Yeah, that is true. Their case is not going to be heard by La Republique. There is nobody in La Republique who is capable of judging them. They are international citizens. They are citizens of the southern Cameroons. They are not part of La Republique. So they have not committed any crime in La Republique. La Republique should be trying them. So those are little things that are important, and it just goes to show you how this struggle is moving forward. So La Republique has no jurisdiction. La Republique is holding them illegally. La Republique has no jurisdiction over them. So La Republique would never be able to try them because they will not answer to anybody in La Republique. La Republique would take them to prison and do whatever to court and do whatever they want to do. But you know, when we were talking about these things, there was something that escaped my mind. Now that we are talking about court, you know, after that election, there was some kind of a hearing. I've never seen that so anywhere in the world. So I had to be asking people to please explain this thing to me, because somehow it was a constitutional council hearing grievances that the various candidates had about the election. It was a show, you know, because remember that there was the chief judge of that constitutional council was just recently appointed by
Paul Biya.
Appointed by Paul Biya, and I believe everybody in that court is appointed.
Yes.
I mean, people can say that in the United States, the president appoints supreme judges too, right?
Supreme Court judges.
Supreme Court judges. But those Supreme Court judges are confirmed by the Senate.
Yes.
That has the power to go about and look at the record.
And they have a lifetime to serve, meaning that you cannot fire them.
Yes, but this is what I'm saying. They go and look at your history and look at what you have said and what you have done. And then they can either vote you up or they can vote you down. And there are so many instances where people have been denied that opportunity. So I was surprised that people could really take their time and go in front of those courts to ask for justice. Because how would you be asking the person to cut off the finger that fits him?
No, you can't.
Yeah, because that guy depends on Bivondo for his daily bread. So if he rules against Bivondo, what's going to happen to him?
Well, but that even happened during John Frundi too. I think we let's not spend too much time talking about a fraudulent scheme that the French devised and put in Africa. And that's what we did. So you will never make sense of it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, the reason I'm bringing that is because, you know, people think that they go to La Republique courts to ask for justice. And I went into that because we were talking about Seseko and the rest being in court.
Yes, and so, I think the approach, they are refusing to be subjected to that. It's correct.
Exactly. That is why I did that analogy.
Yes.
So people can see. It is the president that gets up and decides that, okay, I am going to sign a discontinuance. Yeah, it is all screwed up. If you say somebody has committed a crime, let the courts in a real country, the courts determine if that person is guilty of those crimes or not. Not somebody that gets up in the morning and say, I'm signing a discontinuance to release Bala or whatever.
Yeah, did you, there's a video that is circulating on social media of this guy in Paris who stood up and addressed the boss and explained to the boss that they are in Paris not because they love the place, but because the French government has instituted systems and installed dictators allowed to murder them and make their lives uncomfortable. Did you watch it?
Well, there's been so many of them, of these our dear Africans riding the public transport in France, and they do get up and they address the French people I mean, he is not. There was one of them that did it very well. He had all the pictures of all the dictators and how many years they have been in power, and they speak directly to the French people. But hey, the French people, they benefit if all of this falls apart. They are already in trouble now, even though they get so much money from us. So imagine if that money is taken away, what is going to happen? So they'll hear from this ear, it's going to come out from this ear.
Yes, and I just bring that to obviously crown the whole political discussion we have about La Republique, because I mean, Paul Biya was part of the massacre in Basalan in the 60s, and he's still there now. So, and he was put there by the French. Paul Ahidjo was put there by the French. The French ambassador in Gabon at the time explained very well in that Al Jazeera documentary how the whole thing was orchestrated. So, but this is a colonial empire that we have refused to be part of, and I think part of what we're talking about is that Ambazonian people are resisting it, and they're resisting it very effectively. La Republique never expected that. When Paul Biya went and declared his war against us, he thought we were cowards. We will look at a gun and drop, but it did not happen. So now, it did not happen, but now he's passed a decree that people should disarm. Tell me something about it. I mean, he tried to kill us when we didn't have guns, and then we'll have guns and we're shooting back effectively. Then he passed a decree that we should disarm. Tell me about what you think about the Disarmament Commission.
Well, it is that same mentality that you described earlier, where it is the top giving instructions to the people on what to do. He has not understood that we are not people that think like that. He can tell his French La Republique citizens that, you are going to eat bread and sardine today, or whatever you are going to drink. But you can't come and tell us what you did not give us those arms. In any conflict, when people have picked out arms, if you look at what is happening in Yemen now, as we speak, there are the Yemeni rebels and the government, the Hutu government, in Switzerland, talking to each other, right? Mm-hmm. Trying to find a common ground on how they can end the conflict. Nobody sat there and signed a decree telling those people that they should drop their arms or forming some kind of a commission. Who did they consult? So they think, and we should understand, and I think maybe we'll come to this in a little bit. All of our people need to understand that whatever this guy is doing, he is doing to address what the international community is saying. Yes. Those are all games. The money that he went out and collected from people, and people donated that they were going to go provide subsistence, food and things like that to the people of the southern Cameroons. We have never seen that money. He created a commission this commission was organization that was supposed to manage the affairs of the internally displaced people. None of that money we have not seen that money. So everything that he does is to address the pressure that is coming to him from the international community. It is not solving the problem, because if he wanted to solve the problem, he would have released everybody that he has captured and detained in his dungeons, and then say, okay, my people, how do we get to talk? What do we need to do to end this conflict? No, he goes and sits in Switzerland and signs a paper and then gives it to CITV to read, and then they think that people are going to respond to that. No, we have gone past that stage where we take orders from them. At this point, you people will determine what happens to you as a people, not some presidential decree that somebody signed somewhere, or something that somebody sits in 10 Downing Street or in New York or anywhere and read out to you. You are going to determine what happens to that piece of land that God gave you.
Yes, you said something which is so important. Everything that Paul Biya does, he is addressing the international community. I used to listen to his New Year or whatever speeches that he gives every year. Those things never made sense to me, and a friend of mine called me and said, he is not addressing the people of La Republique. He is addressing the international community. because those are the people sponsoring him. Those are the people determining what happens or doesn't happen in the place. Those are the people who have interest that he's put there to protect. And so all the speeches that he makes, those speeches are made to the international audience. And so if you go and read Paul Biya's speech, you as a local person, you will not make sense of what he's talking about. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because
so the disarmament thing, obviously we haven't come to the Security Council and seen what is going on there. Then we know that he's again responding to the international community. And if he was really responding to the international community by actually doing something that affects the people on the ground, he will actually gain some points.
Mm-hmm.
But he is not doing that. What he is doing is that he comes and fakes. If you look at pictures that they take and put online that, we're causing disarmament, you have people holding a bullhorn in the middle of nowhere. And I'm thinking, if you know where the Amber Boys are, to go and talk to them with a bullhorn, why don't you just go and kill them like you've been wanting to kill them for a long time? So you can see that those are staged pictures that are meant to, again, lie to the international community, and the international community would acquiesce to it because the international community puts him there. And we'll talk more about this when we actually come to looking at what was discussed at the UN Security Council, because it was all fluff. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and remember that
so it's a smoke screen.
There is money to be made. Every time that you look at these people and their actions, you always have to have how they benefit from it in the back of your mind. So there is money to be made. So the woman that they call a pastor, who was going around in I don't know where in Kumba with the Jew Mundemba or something like that, that you will see the budget that has been allocated to those things and how much they have put in their pockets, like the money they collected from people and all organizations that were going to go help internally displaced people. You have not seen where that money has gone. So it is always an opportunity for them to steal, to get money and fill their pockets. They are not doing anything to address what the problem is. So the Disarmament Commission, nobody is disarming. They did not give us arms.
Yeah.
We took the arms from them, and we are not going to give those arms away.
Yes, but let me just come back to the fraud again, okay? So they have this picture where they have this woman in red,
mm-hmm.
and she's part of this armament. And I look at this thing, I'm like, oh my God. If you want to tell a lie, the French have always said, pick the most stupid among them, empower them, and that's how you make the place to be ruled by stupidity. And so if even if you wanted to lie, I think you come up with a better lie than have 4 soldiers or a handful of soldiers and one woman and then a bullhorn and then you take pictures and post out there. I mean, come on.
Yeah, what would be the incentive for our boys to disarm? For what benefit? What would be the incentive for them to disarm? When there are people calling you to disarm and they are walking around with all kinds of guns waiting to kill you, what would be the incentive for them to disarm? There is no incentive.
No.
So, mm-hmm. Because they don't take time to think about what they want to do, but they want to rush to show the international community that they are doing. So they orchestrate this kind of nonsense,
yes.
And they put it out there, and we just have to call it for what it is.
Yes.
A sham.
Absolutely. Let me just say one last thing about this armament. I don't think Ambazonia should ever again be without its own arms. Because when Paul Biya went and said, we declare war on us, he knew we didn't have arms, right? Mm-hmm. So he put he put 3 or 4 buses and sent to Manfred to go and terrorize the people. Obviously, he went and met something else, and we should never, ever go back again from that. And I want to connect this with the American Second Amendment, where citizens should be allowed to have their own arms in order to fight back a cohesive government.
Yeah, and it is important that we understand that disarmament that they are talking about, because the stories I'm hearing from the people that they have released from their dungeons, they say they released them, as they said, because they did not take up arms against the government. So according to them, they believed wholeheartedly that they have to keep killing us and we don't have to do anything about it. They can kill us on the 22nd of September 2017, 1st of October, and on and on and on up till today. You can look at the killings we saw Swividim before anybody picked up arms. We saw Swividim, his head was blown off his head.
Yes.
And you saw the mother holding the child and looking into his eyes and crying that, what have I done to these people that they would blow the head of my son off? Why? Because they went to steal from those people. And that child had the audacity to go out and call them out and talk to the villagers. They shot him. So they want that they should go around killing our people like that. And we should not respond. We should be just a docile people, just be like a cow that is going to the slab to be slaughtered without any resistance. And we have said no. We have said we've had enough of that. We have lost enough people. And this time around, they have pushed us to the wall, and we have no other way to go but to fight back.
Yes, I think since you want to go back and say how we became armed, you should know that this present uprising started in 2016. They killed us on Commercial Avenue. You saw a lot of the kids who were killed there. I mean, you even went back to, you talked about John Frundi's 6 dead. They were more than 6 if you want to count after that. So they've always come into our land and killed people and left, and we never armed. Recently, in this last uprising, they killed us on Commercial Avenue. We did not arm ourselves. They killed us on September 22nd, 2017. We did not arm ourselves. They murdered a lot of people on October 1. We did not arm ourselves. Because it's never been part of our thinking. You know, the British never armed us before they left. They lied to us. They said we're expendable. And so they never gave us an ability to protect ourselves. And so we've never been a warrior people. No, we've always been a warrior people as tribes. But as a nation, we never came together and built an army. And I think Bobby Joa tried and they stopped him and got rid of him. But we've never armed. But right now, I think that changes. People, the British came, used Nigerians. Nigerians came and treated us like pieces of shit in our land. When they left, they brought La Republic. They treated us like pieces of shit in our land. I think that stops. I think what the youth did in this particular uprising was move us to the next stage, and we should never again lose our self-defense. So, Pa, that is pretty much what has happened since we have been we've taken some time off. Let's talk about the politics of our struggle. Let's spend some time on it. And what I mean by politics of our thing is, you remember before we went off the air, and we were the first to actually start talking about this, we looked at how these middlemen in the West collected monies, spent on themselves, improved their lives. Some of them have no jobs, but you look at them now, they wear better suits than you do. And so we said it was better for people to start supporting their fighters on the ground in their own counties, because that's where we can identify, at least they will have a connection. And so we came up with the county by county support of our troops, and I think a lot of people pick onto that. And so a lot of money has been going directly, and what that has done is that it has bankrupted the middlemen. It's bankrupt them. It's bankrupt the fake IG, and basically, then they went and figured out that because they follow the money. And so they came up with this thing that is called local government areas, which is again still trying to attach themselves and then connect money to themselves. Because if we look at that whole local area, what we were talking about was a war strategy. It's not a governing strategy. We shouldn't be in the business of local government area. We are still in a fight. And the whole idea of county by county is to channel money to our fighters to fight and gain our land before we can now own our land and govern it. So tell me what you think about this LG local government area. Tell me what you think about this LGA chasing after county by county and still somehow looking for ways to direct money to themselves.
Well, if you do not design something, it will be difficult for you to implement it. So if you don't understand how the people who sat down and thought about this idea, what they had in mind, and you just want to pick it up and put it on paper, it will be difficult to implement. I mean, it is a lofty idea, and a lot of the people who are...
What is lofty?
It is the idea of people organizing themselves in counties.
Okay.
It is. And
yes.
Yeah, it is a lofty idea because...
I wanted to make sure that you're not saying that the local government area is a lofty idea.
No, well, it creates its own problems. But if it is easy for... remember how we are organized.
Yes.
You have the various cultural groups. So it is easy to go to a county like Mezam, where I come from, and you can go to the Bafut Manjong, you can go to the Mankon cultural group, you can go to the Bartley cultural group, and you can go to all these cultural groups, and it will be easy for you to bring people together to then look at how they can pull resources from those various cultural groups into Mezam, and then Mezam can then now look at how it sponsors the struggle. So it is not for people in those what they now call a local government area to go and constitute their own militia, whatever you want to call it, and begin to see what you are doing. So it is like everybody is doing whatever they want and there's no coordination.
Okay, here's what I'm going to say. Or this is what I think when I think of county by county, okay? Obviously, we as a people who are constructed by God into tribes. And those tribes in the past were sovereign. And our loyalty to those tribes are 100%. Okay? The whole idea of county is made up of a lot of tribes. And when I think of county by county, I'm actually thinking that the Bafut people support their Bafut militia or group. The Mankon, the Ngokitunjas, the Lobialems in Mamfe, in Fako, they all support. And then it's now left for the different commanders in these little groups to then form alliances, and they are doing that. They form alliances, and then look, the idea of now coming to form a national army by coordinating all these groups is left to a national leadership. And I think that is where our struggle right now is failing or is weak, because we don't have any national leadership. The people who usurp that position, they're living in Washington, D.C., they're living large, and they don't have a clue, and people lost faith in them, and which is why the county by county came together in the first place. So let's not. So I'm thinking that what we need to do is allow, because Bafu people know how to get money to their own county, your people know how to get money to their own people, and then those commanders on the ground coordinate themselves, and then it needs a national leadership to now come and bring all these groups together and actually have the whole of our land being defended. You understand what I'm saying?
No, I understand what you're saying. It is... Look, there was a time, that it's difficult sometimes to talk. There was a time where you had organizations in all 13 counties. So what we needed to do, because it is easy to have the people in Bafut, for example, do what they want to do in Bafut. And if the people in Bafut for some reason become too powerful, what do you do? Or if they decide to do things that are a detriment to the struggle, because that is their county, what do you do? So it is important. This county by county was designed as a fundraising strategy, and it had a central command, because what central command does is that the central command looks at the fight that we have and identifies how we are going to approach that fight. If you leave everybody to do what they want to do at their county level without assessing and evaluating if those are necessary things, then it creates a lot of problems. I'll give you an example. We lost a couple of people in Bambili last week because there was a graduation in Bambili. So I don't know if it is that government area, as they call it, that decided that we needed to do an operation like that, to go and do whatever they want to do without graduation. The cost of that is that you don't have that assessment. You don't have that group of people that can sit down and look and say, okay, what is the value of this operation to the struggle? Is it worth it to lose 4 people in that struggle, in that operation, because it is in your local government area, or not? Or do we take that resources and put them somewhere else? So when you put people in their local, let everybody do what they want in the local government area, then you have things like that creates more problems for us. You don't then pick the things that are necessary to move the struggle forward. You do what they say is you want to try to pluck the low-hanging fruit instead of looking at the big picture.
Cameroon is facing an additional humanitarian crisis in its southwest and northwest regions, as expressed. Since the Council was last briefed by SRSG Fall on Central Africa half a year ago, internal displacement in this part of Cameroon has tripled, and today counts over 430,000 internally displaced people. In addition, over 30,000 Cameroonians have fled across the border to Nigeria seeking refuge. This is now one of the fastest growing displacement crises in Africa. The majority of the displaced are hiding in dense forests without adequate shelter and lacking food, water, and basic services. Schools and markets are also disrupted, and there are alarming health needs. As highlighted in the report of the Secretary-General, we note with great concern the deteriorating situation with respect to the protection of civilians, including reported killings, burnings of homes and villages, extortion, and kidnappings in the southwest and northwest regions of Cameroon. There have been multiple attacks on schools and threats against students and teachers. These include 2 large-scale abductions and subsequent release last month of the 78 students and 3 teachers in Bamenda and 20 students in Kumba.
We just talked about what happened at the UN last week at the UN Security Council. They finally had a discussion at the UN Security Council about the struggle in Ambazonia. Have you read some of the reports?
Yeah, I've read some of it and watched the clips. And the interesting thing is, the first thing that we want to highlight is that finally the international community is now speaking in one voice. I mean, if you watch every person that did a presentation, they said that our crisis is now the most important crisis in Africa.
Yes.
And there were people who were saying that they will not be able to bring peace in Central Africa because of what is happening in our territory. So what I'm going to tell you today is that your sacrifice for the people that we have lost, for the schools, for the ghost towns and all what we have sacrificed is finally paying off. And it is paying off in the sense that this, La Republique went and told these people that no, this is a problem that they can take care of. And if you have watched what those people were presenting, you can see that now they have given La Republique a long time, and La Republique has been unable to take care of the problem as La Republique told them that they were going to. So your persistence, your sacrifice is finally giving us some grounds. We have lost a lot of people, but at this point the international community is now telling La Republique, some of them say there have to be discussions without any preconditions.
The security and humanitarian conditions in Cameroon's northwest and southwest regions have significantly deteriorated since the last UNOCA briefing to the Security Council in June. Violence continues to escalate, obstructing vital humanitarian aid delivery to over 430,000 IDPs and blocking health and education services to rural children. Mr. President, October was the most violent month on record in Cameroon in recent years, and judging from anecdotal reports, we fear that November will surpass October as the bloodiest month on record. We don't want to see that horrible trend continue again this month in December. The violence must stop now. Violence between government and Anglophone separatists has resulted in killings and abductions of civilians, including a U.S. missionary, who was killed on October 30th. Faced with mounting insecurity, tens of thousands of Cameroonians have fled to neighboring Nigeria, as we've heard, while hundreds of thousands have been internally displaced and need humanitarian assistance. The stakes in Cameroon are too high for this crisis to continue unaddressed. Cameroon remains an essential security partner in the fight against Boko Haram and the Islamic State in West Africa, including as a member of the multinational Joint Task Force. The continuing crisis threatens to detract from our mutual security objectives in the Lake Chad Basin. Mr. President, the United States calls for an immediate and broad-based reconciliatory dialogue without preconditions between the government of Cameroon and separatists in the northwest and southwest regions. We urge all sides to forswear violence, to restore peace, and to resolve their grievances through political dialogue.
The only problem with what they are saying is that they are asking the fox that has been watching over the hen house and eating the chicks to go and take care of the problem. That is the problem. They are talking about recommendations from the Bilingualism Commission. We know the people who came to Bamenda when and wrote a report that we had asked for Ahidjo's corpse to be returned from Senegal.
Mr. President, these concerns are not new. I raised them in the Council's discussion in March, as did others. Unfortunately, we have not seen the action needed to address the situation, and since March, it has deteriorated further. We welcome President Biya's recent pledge to address the situation, but words alone will not improve things. We strongly urge the government of Cameroon to take urgent action, including by actively addressing the situation through inclusive dialogue with the Anglophone leadership to address the underlying issues, undertaking confidence-building measures in order to diffuse tensions and build conditions for dialogue. This includes the release of political detainees and implementing the government's own commitments on decentralisation and the recommendations of the Commission on Bilingualism.
The things that they are focused on is not what we asked for. I know the British representative, the United Kingdom representative said that it is easy to prevent a problem than trying to solve it.
Preventing a crisis costs significantly less than resolving one.
And we said yes.
No, we've been saying yes to that since 1954.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. That even up to October 2016, we still went out and told them these are the problems that we have. There was nothing in that, the things that we're asking, that was about bilingualism. There's nothing in it. We said that the judges in our courts are civil law judges. They speak French in our courts. We said that the teachers who are teaching our children are francophones.
Our children speak English.
Not that we had a problem of bilingualism, because the most bilingual person, if you are talking about who can speak English and French, which are the languages, the so-called national languages in that country, it will be us. Because every time we have to speak French in order to survive in that system.
Even in Bamenda, they make us speak French in Bamenda.
So we had never said we had a problem with bilingualism. So for them to sit down and begin to refer that they like what was recommended in the Bilingualism Commission. No, if you want to solve the problem, that is not the problem. If the British and the United Kingdom wants to solve the problem, they have to ask themselves, what did we do in 1961? They have to go back and listen to that MP who complained in 1961 that these two people can never live together. And if you really want to solve the problem, that is where you're going to start. You are not going to begin to tell us about some bilingualism commission or whatever the government of the Republic has done, because that does not mean anything to us. And that is not going to change anything.
Thank you for that analysis and comments. I just want to say that, the British, since you started by mentioning the British in 1961, or building up to 1961, to give us away, said that we're expendable. And since then, they have been supporting La République to make us expendable to La République.
Mr. President, we have raised our concerns quietly so far and directly with the government, and we are committed to working with the government of Cameroon in every way we can to help resolve this situation. But I fear that unless action is taken and the situation improves, concern over the situation in Cameroon is likely to increase amongst Security Council members and become a more prominent part of our discussions.
Until they prevail over us, they cannot preside over us, because that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to make La République to be presiding over us. They gave La République a chance to go and prevail over us. La République failed. But then they want now La République to preside over us. It's not going to work. You have to preside. You have to prevail over us before you will preside over us. The international community is talking about us now after 57 years because we are prevailing in our fight. Mm-hmm. They gave La République time to go and finish us. La République tried. They drag our kids in mud. They shot at will. Right now they just shoot at will. I mean, I was watching an old piece where you were talking about people who were just crossing the road in a corner and they shot them. Mm-hmm. They rape children daylight. Mm-hmm. They've given them a free hand to do anything in our territory and get away with. And we've decided that we are going to act the way the Americans did. In what the Americans asked the British in the 1700s was that give us some local rights, autonomy, so that we can govern the things that involve us here. King George said no. The sign that you put on your road will be decided in London, and that is exactly what we did. When we accepted our demise, we went and said, Yaoundé, give us a little bit. Allow us to decide our cases in the language that we understand. Let's have judges who speak to us. Give us a chance to educate our own children. They said no. And we said, okay, away with you. And we are never going back. Because did America ever go back to become part of a British colony? No. So we are not going back.
And clearly, Mr. President, we also call on the armed groups involved to cease their attacks on civilians, allow full humanitarian access and access to human rights monitors, and to engage with the government on these issues.
Is there any Amber group that has prevented humanitarian or UN monitors to come into Ambazonia?
Well, you remember at one time I had told you that some of these people sit in Senegal and they put out these reports. They talked about the human rights. It was a lady from the the Food Administration or whatever, mm-hmm. that was talking about what they have done on the ground. I don't know. I've not seen it, So they sit somewhere and prepare all these reports. But the most important thing is that, yes, our people are suffering now. And we have sacrificed a lot. And there's a lot of water that has gone under the bridge. There is no way we can bring it back.
No.
So what we are saying is that this international commission, or this international community, is saying that they accept Biya as a president. He said some things, I don't know whether it's November 6th or whatever, about what he plans to do to solve the problem.
We note that in his inaugural address on November 6th, President Biya expressed confidence that, quote, there is an honorable way out in everyone's interest, end quote.
So they want to hold him on that. But we are saying that that guy does not speak for us.
No, he doesn't.
We never voted him. He is not. We are not part of the regime that he is managing in Yaoundé. We are our own people. And we, as a people, will determine what happens to us. Not somebody sitting in New York, not somebody sitting in Yaoundé, or somebody sitting in France, or somebody sitting in America.
Yeah, this partner, his name is I work for Moses. He has done be shot dead now by the French military. Happening now in the corner. The genocide is going on. Happening at the corner now. Today, November 29, 2018. He was being killed right inside his own bedroom, in his living room, by the French military. Happening now at the corner. Look at the man of this age. That was shot by the French Cameroon military.
You people are going to determine what happens to you people. And your resolve and determination is going to make sure that happens. That is all what it is. Nobody is going to come. They are shooting you down now for you to be submissive, for you to accept your condition. And you have said, yes, I might die, but if I die, keep on going. Because what we have decided as a people now to achieve, we are going to achieve it. Remember, we have always said that we as a people, we have always gotten what we put our minds on.
Yes.
And this one is not going to be any different. And you can see, these people have not spoken for over 2 years. Nobody has said anything. Antonio Guterres will fly to Central Africa, come and stop in Yaoundé and collect his own trophy.
Yes.
The Secretary General of the Commonwealth will go and collect hers. The person from the African Union will come and collect. Everybody is coming and collecting, but the situation is not changing. At some point, they will not know what to do, and at that time, they will address the root causes of this problem.
Yes, and to add to what Roger just said, we should know that the international committee has failed us at every step of the way. We can go back to history. It was the international committee that actually decided that they should come and chop us up and take us over. Then they handed us to the League of Nations. Then they handed us to the UN. Even the UN resolutions about us were all violated. Right now, and over the years, we've been crying. The UN never said a word. They have started saying a word only when we are beginning to speak loud and clear. And so we have never gotten anything from the international community. The AU failed us. The Commonwealth failed us. Do you know that they've been going to the Commonwealth for the longest time? Mm-hmm. But they waited that we should kill ourselves, that they should they should burn our villages. Over 100 villages have been burned. And then now they want to come and tell the person burning the villages to come and decide what happens to us. If the person was even trying to answer the question, we even start thinking that, well, maybe some sense is coming in, but he's talking about disarmament, he's talking about bilingualism.
They're talking about decentralization.
Decentralization. Those have nothing to do with what Roger stated. What we asked what we asked lately was, don't come and pollute our courts with command law. Don't come and mess up our education with colonial education. That's what we asked for. Allow us to decide where we put a stop sign on our roads. They said no, those roads are ours. They were given to us by God. And I can tell our people, just like you did, that they are beginning to talk about us in the Security Council because we force them. And if somebody comes and says, give us that weapon of enforcement that makes them talk, absolutely not. Absolutely not, because they have, like I'm repeating myself here, they empower Paul Biya for the longest time, go and take care of the other by subduing them, and they keep giving him chance. Now they're still giving him chance because apart from America that says without preconditions, none of the other commentators or countries said anything to that, to even have that kind of a statement on there. You know what I'm saying? The British came and totally, the British really did not say anything. And I want to read a piece here which somebody wrote, and I'm going to give her name. And it's very instructive to the British because like I've said before, it's like when people get into government, they assume some godlike attitudes that they don't have. And so the whole world, including their own citizens, do see that. Here's a piece written by Laurent McEvert. Laurent McEvert is a managing director at the Moped Consulting. And I'm just going to read a piece there. Jeremy Hunt has spoken of Britain becoming the invisible chain between democracies and of the importance of strengthening multinational institutions to be able to better work together when we face a real and present threat. Something is missing from his discourse, for, as J.K. Rowling so eloquently wrote, although it takes a great deal of bravery to stand up to our enemies, it takes just as much to stand up to our friends. Critical friendship is a crucial element of global diplomacy. So perhaps the Foreign Secretary feels that it goes without saying. But unfortunately, an awful lot of our friends do not share our values, and some hold only a very tenuous link to democracy. Last week, an octogenarian president in a far-off land was sworn in for his 7th term. His re-election campaign was marred by allegations of vote rigging and intimidation. It's a deeply divided nation where the fates of kidnapped school children are politicized by both sides in a separatist quarrel and linguistic division determine socioeconomic features, where armed civilian militias dominate the political landscape of a potentially secessionist region and regularly clash with the state military. This is a conflict that is rarely, if ever, addressed by the UN, despite not one but 2 former colonizers sitting on the council as permanent members. There are no EU sanctions. Indeed, it is estimated that over 30% of this nation's export go to the EU. While the death toll of his own citizens may be difficult to establish, this president leads a country where within the last fortnight, an American missionary was shot and killed, and a renowned journalist has been arrested for treason for daring to report anything other than the state-sanctioned rationale for the killing. Surely such a nation cannot be part of our network of friendships. Our allies will cast shame on us for giving tacit approval to such a regime through our inaction. But this nation is Cameroon, a member of the Commonwealth and a country comprising former colonies of both France and Britain. UK-based representative of the Anglo minority community of Cameroon regularly protest outside the Commonwealth Secretariat. They request that their country be expelled from the groupings for the systematic prosecution they face from the Francophone majority, who control most of the levers of the state and are given significant support by the French government, our dear friends and allies across the channel. You might hope that Jeremy Hunt's invisible chain between democracies or our strong network of friendships and allies would have brought international attention and condemnation on Cameroon's leadership. It would appear not. The Commonwealth is inaction personified, and representatives of the Cameroon government are welcome still at Commonwealth events. Our French allies do nothing. And the UK's African minister's statement on the recent election offered no concern at the democratic deficits of the country, instead merely requesting that the president work for a peaceful end to the separatist quarrel. The bulk of Hunt's vision of Britain's place in the world hits the right tone, but without a strong public commitment to stand up to our friends and our nearest allies who sometimes act in complete conflict to our national values, our good work is in other areas would always be overshadowed. We will be let down by the company we keep, by which we should be proud to be judged and not found wanting. So that's a piece that this lady wrote. You have any reactions to that, Pa?
No, I mean, that's a very powerful piece, that they were let down by their friends. And their friends, who are they talking about? Their allies. The French.
Yes.
Because they are their next door neighbors. And they once perpetuating all of the things that she described in our country. So, our people have sacrificed for 57 years. And at the last moment, they have risen up. And La République and France is asking, how dare you? Because they believe that this has been achieved, and we were quiet and there was no signs that everything was going to ever happen. And that is why they are so angry, claiming that we took up arms. We should have just been docile people, just laying like sheep, so they should slaughter us. We couldn't do anything about it. So they are like perforating that, how dare you pick up arms? Who are you? It is like one day a slave got up and decided to speak back at the master when the master speaks. That is what is killing them.
This power could be a maximum plus minus 85 years to 90 years old. That was shot today by the French community inside his living room. You can see how the room, the door was broken, and the military come in, scatter the whole house. You can see the living room of the old man that was scattered, shattered by the French military. You can see what's happening in the corner. The genocide is still continuing. Southern Cameroonians, Ambazonians pay every day with their blood, being killed in their living rooms. They are fighting for justice. The international community, Human Rights Watch, the United Nations, UN, please come to our rescue. Ambazonians are being killed on a daily basis for their right to exist, for their right to live as humans. Happen in the corner now. Awoko Moses was being shot by the military.
It is because of your sacrifice,
yes,
and your determination. That is what is keeping us going.
Yes, and we are children of God, and no human being is going to come and turn us to become slaves because they're Britain or France or UN. Okay? So let's keep fighting for our rights, because we are in that piece of land by the will of God. Now, Pa, I just wanted to throw this at you, that there are rumors about some of the dialogue they're talking about, that only members, only the All Anglophone Conference will be accepted to be part of that conversation. Have you heard anything like that?
Well, if there are rumors, people start these rumors so they can get a gauge of where people are.
Yes.
So I will not be surprised that it comes from Tumi or Patrick Atanga, Paddy Atanga, as they call him.
Yes, or even from La République interjecting them, trying to decide who they would speak with.
Yes. But what I'm saying is that is not the people who are going to represent us in any discussion and in jail. Those are the people. So, know what all Anglophone, we had met in 1993. Anything that is happening after 1993, 1994, as far as we are concerned, is null and void. Anybody who claims, if they want to talk about the people that should be speaking for us as a product of the All Anglophone Conference, it should be the Southern Cameroon National Council.
Yes.
Because the Southern Cameroon National Council was the body that was constituted after the All Anglophone Conference in 93-94 to steer our ship,
and they've done a great job.
And direct our affairs.
Yes, they've done a great job. The symbols of Ambazonia today were created by that organization.
Yes, so that will be the only organization, if they are talking about what we as a people put together. The Southern Cameroon National Council is the only legitimate body that we put in place, not what Tumi and
Simon
Monzo are trying to constitute. They are really trying, because I don't know how many times this thing has been postponed. So we have the people who are going to speak for us, and that time it will come from you. It is not going to come from me. It is not going to come from somebody sitting in New York or somebody sitting in 10 Downing Street. Those people, like they are doing with Yemen now, will call our representatives that they want to see how we can, but we will not stop what we are doing. What we are doing is effective.
Very effective.
And we just have to strategize more to limit our casualties and continue to do what we are doing.
And continue to grow militarily that we're doing, Pa. Remember that when we started, we had, I mean, the kids on commercial avenue, did they even carry sticks?
Well, I have said time and time again that we are defending ourselves. Nobody has seen us across matters. These people come into our homes, kick down the doors, kill our women, kill our children, shoot on the street, and kill young children crossing the street. And some people or somebody somewhere believes that they have a right to do that. And our people have said no. Our boys have said no. We have a right to defend ourselves and defend our population. You cannot just come to Bali and pull young children out and kill them. And just see somebody riding on his bike, you shoot him down. An American missionary driving to go do groceries for the family, you shoot him.
Yeah, that's because they've been given carte blanche by the international community to do that. Continue, Pa.
So if the international community is going to do that, we are going to say no. And we are not the first people to say no. But we are going to be the drivers of our destiny and nobody else. So every time you go to bed, pray to your ancestors and do exactly what our ancestors have done before. We are not asking these people for anything, but we are asking them to leave us alone.
That's it. That's it.
They are not going to take an inch of the land, of their land. We are asking them to leave our land. And every time you pray or you pour libation to the ancestors, you make that prayer, especially for those who have gone before us, those who have fallen for this struggle. So ask yourself, how would you pay back Suvidum and the family and all the other people that have fallen for this struggle? I said after October 1st, 2017, that our actions today will make the children who will grow up and not know their parents know exactly why their parents died.
Yes. Yes. You talked about our ancestors. I want to say that when Weber spoke in the heart of La République's parliament, he was inspired by the ancestors you were talking about.
We have made all the efforts. Our ancestors and our forefathers trusted you to go into a gentleman's agreement that two people who considered themselves brothers could go to live together. If this is what you show us after 55 years, then those who are saying that we should break Cameroon are right. They are correct. The people of West Cameroon cannot be your slaves.
In the West, it's preached that the government derives its power from the people. And so, like you saw in Paris, did you see soldiers went out shooting people's feet in Paris? Have you seen that in any Western country? Unless it becomes really violent, they don't do that. But in our country, the West.
That's the first thing they do.
The West would stand aside or support and even allow Paul Biya, knowing that he's been killing, and they have non-profit organizations that come and document it. Our citizens send all the pictures in social media, and they just sit and watch. I think it is time. I think our people are beginning to speak, and they are prevailing. Anything you want to add?
Definitely. So when we come to this show, as we always do, is to talk to you and remind you about the bond that we share together as a people. You are in the front lines and we are out here trying to support you in the trenches. And like I have said before, whatever you do for this struggle, remember that you are doing it for posterity, for the children who will grow up without their parents that they have lost in this struggle. You want those children to grow up and remember why the father or the mother or the grandmother was not around. So your actions are going to speak volume, both internally for those young children who are growing up and externally for those who are hoping to give us an opportunity to be a people. We have condemned the actions that we take and some of the videos that we produce and put out there, because it gives the enemy an ammunition to go out there and discredit what all of us are longing for. So I'm going to ask you, as you defend your communities, remember why you decided to take that position. This weekend, we heard these cries from the mothers and sisters in Batabo, and they were crying because they had lost loved ones. And those people who did those things, you are going to ask yourself whether your actions would help to advance all our cherished goals. It is terrible for me personally to hear the cries of our parents or our sisters and brothers coming in that tone when it is caused by some of us. So ask yourself, when you go out there to help protect the village or the town, what you do to those people, will they remember you positively when this fight is over? Or how would their children who have grown up without parents feel at the end of all of this? It is true that sometimes, and even in the Bible, we had Judas who sold Christ to be crucified. And things like this do happen sometimes. In all of your children or brothers and sisters, there is that one person that creates problems for the family. I hope that we will stay vigilant and stay the course, because that is why we are fighting this fight. That is what makes us strong, not fighting against each other. My hope is that all of you who are in the restoration would ask this question to yourself: this action that I'm going to take, does it advance the struggle or does it hurt the struggle? And that should be your guiding light. Thank you.